Constant change in South Africa's economy, many citizens still have trouble saving. According to Trading Economics, household saving rate in South Africa decreased to minus 0.2% in the fourth quarter of 2019 from 0.1% in the third quarter of 2019. Now, the amount that you should be saving will always depend on your goals, the time, and also the money at your disposal. As the country is hit by COVID-19, this has had a major impact on the economy, with many that will be left with little or no funds at all once it passes. And joining us now via Skype is money coach, a small business investor and author of Passive Income and the Rise and Fall of the NSC, to give us an insight on how one can save during these trying times. Penuel Mlotshwa, it's a very great pleasure to have you on the show. Good morning to you. Welcome.
A very good morning, and a very good morning to all your viewers as well.
Penuel Mlotshwa, why do you think that there's such a low number of South Africans who are saving?
I think, to be fully honest, our biggest issue as a country is our lack of financial literacy. The schooling system in its entirety hasn't fully integrated a financial education model that all South Africans can understand, such that they can understand which role they can play in the economy of South Africa and how we can actually fit into the global economy as well. Because once we know that, then we'll know how to use our money, how to invest our money intelligently so that it can grow and benefit not just ourselves, but our communities and our country at large.
There are a number of people who now are currently working remotely, or working from home, as it were, or not going to work at all, meaning that they are likely to run out of cash. So what sort of impact do you think this pandemic will have on ordinary citizens?
I think, to be fully honest, a lot of us need to be very scared about the ripple effects that the COVID-19 is going to have on our local economy, on the global economy at large as well. I think now is the time to sit. If you have a registered financial advisor, if you have someone in your community, in your circles that understands how money works, how the economy works, this is the time to actually sit down while you're at home, using WhatsApp, using Skype, and using any other means to communicate, where you can create some kind of a financial plan based on the worst case scenario. What happens if the rand completely tanks? What happens if the South African economy completely tanks? Do we need to look into going back to the basics? Should we look into, maybe in the future, farming, looking into tangible assets, and maybe staying away from some of these non-tangible assets such as shares and other fancy instruments that may be really, really at risk and that we cannot control as individuals?
What kind of formula does one need to have in order to be able to save, even if it's not much? I mean, what is its importance? I mean, we know that most South Africans are indebted. How are they expected to save? Because you save what you have, isn't it?
Very true. South Africa is very scary as a country, because out of the 57 million population that we have, we only have 10 million permanent employees, to be fully honest. And of those 10 million, only 3 million of them actually pay income tax. The average black employee earns about 3,600 rand only per month. The average white employee, on the other hand, earns about 11,000 rand. So if you're looking at, for example, the majority of our people, which is 80%, most of them earn less than 3,600 rand a month. The average black household lives on 1,400 rand a month. So with that picture in mind, you have to understand that people cannot all have the same savings plan. There's a rule of thumb which says that you save 10% of everything that you earn, but at the really, really lower end of the spectrum, these people shouldn't be putting their money in fancy policies. They can't afford to buy shares. I think only if you're earning maybe 10,000 rand or more, you should look into fancier instruments like buying shares, buying into unit trusts, buying into something called rates, which is property investing. For people at the bottom, join savings clubs, join stokvels. Try and take that money and look into real assets. Assets such as buying chickens, selling eggs, maybe loan out some of that money, maybe set up a spaza shop. As we know, even with COVID-19, our government allows locally owned spaza shops to trade. And that can become some of the ways that people right at the bottom can look into taking some of their savings and making them work for them. We cannot all invest at the same level. We don't earn the same amount of money, and we don't have the same access to financial instruments, as it were.
Yeah, you're quite right. We cannot invest in the same level. I mean, but people are most likely now to turn to credit because of lack of funds as a result of COVID-19. And the fact that it's been extended, I mean, it doesn't make it any easier. How does one then use credit wisely to avoid paying too much interest?
So once again, like I said, we have such a huge vacuum of financial literacy in South Africa. I stand to be corrected, but I believe about 75% of South Africans are in debt, and over 50% of South Africans have a negative net worth. That means they have more liabilities than they have assets. People need to understand that there's something called good credit and bad credit. Bad credit is when you take out a loan or use your credit card or use an overdraft and you buy booze and you go partying and you spend it on things that will never make money for you. Then there's good debt. You use those same things. You use your credit card, you use your overdraft, etc. You go and you buy stock. We're blessed to live in Gauteng and Johannesburg. There are so many different warehouses and malls where you can go and stock things in wholesale. Go to townships, go to other places, maybe even drive all the way to small towns and sell some of these things to make this money back for you. That is essentially how business, all the way up until big corporates, that's how it works. They take out debt, understanding that debt has a certain cost, and they make sure that the profits that they make from that debt can make money back for them. There are people that are currently selling masks, people that are selling sanitizers, but try and see and look into tangible products that people need. People still need food fundamentally during this lockdown. There are people that are currently using online to tutor children. A lot of the parents really struggle for various reasons in teaching their own kids, but they have access maybe to the internet and maybe to their phones. And you can take that initiative and say, listen, I will educate your children every day for a small fee and make that money. So those are some of the ways that you can try and raise funding. Understanding that financial institutions are not the only ways to raise debt, so to speak. Use your family, use your friends. Like I said, join savings clubs and use some of that money. I believe South Africa's got over 55 billion rand in stokvels annually that are saved. Use some of that money, try and use it for enterprise and building real business that makes sense in your lived reality.
Great insights there, and point taken, Penuel. Thank you so much for chatting to us. Much appreciated. That was money coach and author Penuel Mlotshwa talking to us about the importance of saving. This is Morning Live. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back.